Hello everyone, I am 𝐓𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐴.
I'm 𝐓𝐵𝐼𝐢.
I'm Hylian Luke.
And welcome to episode 2 of our Fan Theory Friday. We pick 5 of our favorite theories that you leave in the comments below and put them in a new video every Friday. If your theory is the overall winner, you will win an amiibo of your choice or a $20 eShop card. The rules are simple. Your theory needs to be between 1 to 5 paragraphs. It can't be a single sentence. You need to properly explain what it is and why you like it. Use the theories in this video as an example. Our winner from last week, who will move on to the winner take all theory video at the end of this month, is Vampy Mina, who had a great theory on Ganondorf's resurrection in Wind Waker. With well over 100 comments on the last video, Vampy had the most votes out of everyone. So, congratulations. Please message me on Discord, Twitter, or Instagram, or I will message you on Discord to discuss all of the details. For everyone else, please watch last week's top 5 theory video to catch up on Vampy's theory and all of the other great Nintendo theories. Since the last video did so well, we are now putting these Fan Theory Friday videos on iTunes alongside our Zelda News and Rumor podcast, the Hylian Gamescast. And as another thank you, if we can get this video over 500 likes, instead of 5 theories being featured on next week's video, we will have a top 10 Zelda and Nintendo theory video. That will instantly double your chances of getting a shout out for your YouTube channel and having your theory featured on the video for everyone to see and discuss. With all of that out of the way, let's begin.
Alright, so the first theory we have comes from Abigail G. I believe she's a Patreon supporter of ours?
Yes.
Her theory is, the princess, the hero, and the Sheikah were the ones who mummified Ganondorf. I believe that this is supported by the green hand holding Ganondorf down and the way that he is mummified, similar to that of the Sheikah monks. Why mummify him rather than kill him? It would keep him from coming back for longer. You can't resurrect someone who isn't dead. Thus, the enemies of Hyrule wouldn't be able to resurrect Ganondorf. He would be kept in a secret place deep under the ground. I believe the princess, the hero, and the Sheikah technology were there to subdue Ganondorf, while the Sheikah completed a ritual to seal him alive. And when his mummification was almost complete, he was taken to a secret place so that no one could ever find him and awaken him. Afraid that the Sheikah might use their technology against the Hylians, or worse, awaken Ganondorf, they were forbidden- words are hard. They were forbidden from using the technology again. The mistake, however, is that he was disturbed. When stories fade into legend, warnings are forgone as they are seen as only myths. And thus, Ganondorf, rather than receiving the release of death, is frozen into a silent scream, arcing backwards, malice oozing from what should have been his fatal blow until he was awakened. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not really sure how I feel on this because I've seen like thousands of theories on like the mummy in the thing, like is it Demise, is it Ganondorf, is it like was Ganondorf a hero, was he the bad guy, what's going on? So I'm going to wait until like another trailer or something comes before I put some serious thought into it, but I like this. I think it's good thoughts from Abigail.
I like that it kind of incorporates probably like what it is that's like the oozing, where it's coming from, and what it signifies, but I think I agree with you at the same time. It's like, there's so much that we don't know about if this is... I mean, we're pretty sure, like, I'm pretty sure it's Ganon. Yeah. Looks like Ganon, feels like Ganon. Demise not so much, but... Yeah, exactly. So I'm still on that path, but everything else I'm still kind of... I'm holding back on until we see more, right?
Yeah, but mostly I think the oozing, it just reminds me of, like, the second... almost said Nintendo, the second Ninja Turtles movie, The Secret of the Ooze. But in this case, the ooze is the calamity. I think it's just that, like, after whatever happened, the seal kind of broke or something, because we see that all the time. Like, maybe after the beast form of Ganon was defeated, it reawakened, or it started to break the seal on the actual Ganondorf. So... I don't know, because it's just weird in the game. Like, it says, some people say it's a mistranslation from Japanese because the Japanese text is a bit different, but it's something about Ganondorf giving up on his like his true form or whatever to become the Calamity Ganon or something like that. And it's like, if he gave up on his resurrection, then why is there still a body Like, it doesn't make too much sense to me. That's why I'm waiting on the new trailer. But Luke, what are your thoughts?
I think it's, like, interesting. Like, I don't have many thoughts about it just because I've heard this theory several times. Like, it could be Ganondorf, it could be Demise. I'm leaning more towards, like, it's Demise turning into Ganondorf, maybe? Because, like, I've looked at it and, like, compared, and it does feel, based on the way he looks and the claw, and, like, the way he's shaped and all that, based on, like, the shadow and, like, that one screenshot of, like, that, not screenshot, the frame in the trailer where it shows, like, the flash and it shows
the shadows on the wall.
Those shadows on the wall, yeah, that looks way more like Demise than Ganondorf, just based on, like, the body figure and stuff like that. But I do like this, like, idea that the Sheikah kind of helped seal Ganondorf away because of the Breath of the Wild story about the hero princess and the champions that helped seal Calamity Ganon.
Yeah.
So it's possible that, like, this Ganondorf is the same one from 10,000 years ago.
Yeah. Well, with we'll move on to the next theories after this, but
yeah.
With you mentioned that it's interesting that the Sheikah would have helped seal Ganon or Ganondorf, whatever form he was taking. Whenever you go back to Ocarina of Time, Zelda, which it's the Sheikah's job to protect Zelda, because she's the princess and, like, the reincarnation. She's the one that's supposed to, like, have knowledge and the power of the Triforce or whatever, and that's what the Sheikah are supposed to protect. But Zelda herself becomes a Sheikah whenever she turns into Sheik. So if Zelda as Sheik or whatever is also a Sheikah, then when she helps seal Ganondorf at the end of Ocarina of Time, that would also be the same as a Sheikah sealing Ganondorf, like you mentioned, would be interesting with this Breath of the Wild thing. But anyways, we can come back to that at the end, because for the people listening, we're actually supposed to be doing a short discussion on each theory, and then we do the overall discussion at the very end after we've gone over all of the different theories. But this one is just too interesting, I guess. We had to go a little bit long on that. So Luke, what is your first theory here, or technically the second theory of the video?
Alright. Jen Lemmings writes, I believe that the green spiritual energy is actually Link's lost champion ability. I find it kind of odd that every champion has an ability besides Link. I think that an ancient incarnation of the hero sacrificed his life, ability, or Triforce to seal Ganondorf. That might also be why Link had to do all the shrines, because the ancient Sheikah knew the hero would need more power to defeat Ganon without his ability. This might also be why the divine beasts were constructed, because the hero would need help defeating Ganon. This would also align with the prophecy. It stated that the power to defeat Ganon lies beneath the ground. This could mean that the green energy, or Link's ability, is what is needed to defeat Ganon. If you also look at the hero in Impa's tapestry, the hero has an odd yellowish-green hand. If Link doesn't have the champion abilities in the second game, having his own could be a replacement.
Alright, so what are your immediate thoughts on that?
My immediate thoughts on this are, I think that's a really interesting idea, because I never even thought about Link having his own, like, ability, because all of the other champions had some kind of ability that helped them pilot the divine beasts. So the fact that Link didn't have one, the green hand, like, kind of possessing Link in that little teaser, that could be his ability for the game. That could be his champion power, and he's able to use it to solve puzzles and fight enemies in creative, unique ways that Nintendo comes up with, which would be really cool.
Alright, 𝐷𝐵𝐿𝐼, do you have any thoughts on this, or do you know what I'm about to say?
I haven't read your mind yet, so okay. let me see what I got.
Not a full Jedi yet.
It's funny actually. So I was trying to describe to my boyfriend what I was like doing with you guys today, and this was the one that I actually read out because I thought it was really interesting. It's one of those things that Link is one of those characters that you don't really think of as him missing anything because he's the hero of time. He's the main character. He has everything and more,
Exactly.
right? And so he's the character that when you're playing him, I don't feel like he's missing anything. But through reading through this theory, I like that's where you kind of realize, like, you're right. Like, everyone's a champion. Link is a champion. Where is his champion ability? And it kind of, I thought it was cool the way that it kind of like connected the two pieces of the puzzle there. Like maybe this is his power. This is what he's doing. So I like it. I'm down with it.
All right. I think Daniel and we've talked about this before, and there's been other people to make videos on it as well, but it was something that I assumed was just kind of common sense among the people that played Breath of the Wild, but as it turns out, and with you two, but I guess it's something that you were saying you don't really think about Link missing an ability until someone brings it up. But in the game, Link's ability is that he can slow down time. Whether it's like falling through the air, aiming the arrows, going into the flurry rush mode. I and Daniel and some other people always just assumed that was his ability. That he has the ability to slow down time. Like, that's his champion ability, and that's why like no one mentions him not having his own champion ability, because in the game he does. He slows down time and everything, whether it's jumping off something, falling through the air, aiming, doing the flurry rush, or whatever. Yeah. But I think
that's funny because
sorry.
For me, I never really thought of that as an ability so much as I thought of it more of as like a gameplay mechanic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like if it was an intended ability, then there would be more opportunity to make use of it throughout the game. And I feel like game-wise, there's only one time within the story that it actually utilizes you needing to use that, which is when you're dealing with the entire which divine beast was it? With the Rito?
Yeah. When you have to shoot all of the specific targets to get his ability.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like if it was his ability, there'd be more of a showcase on it, but at the same time, it might be one of those things that was like so subtle that maybe most people, like you mentioned, didn't pick up on.
Yeah. And there was like tons of things that they left out of Breath of the Wild. Like, they originally left out like the motorcycle that they ended up adding in as DLC. If you have the book, there's literally half the book is full of concept art and stuff of things that they didn't use. And then with Breath of the Wild 2, they said that they had so many ideas and concepts that they wanted to include as DLC that it would have been too much to just be DLC, and that's why they made Breath of the Wild 2. So maybe like they did have things originally planned in the game with like the way you would fight in some of the divine beasts, maybe that would utilize the time mechanic more. But the way that I looked at it is like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, he's traveling through time, 7 years, and then Majora's Mask, it's 3 days. Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, he's traveling between the different months and the different seasons or years or whatever. Twilight Princess, there's the part where he goes through the Temple of Time, and it's all gray when you walk through the door, and then the temple is restored. Wind Waker, Link, does he go to the past when you go under the ocean? To like the old Hyrule Castle.
Yeah, he goes in Wind Waker. He goes under the ocean.
Yeah, but is he also going back in time when everything's like gray and frozen?
No, he's just going into a time-stopped state of Hyrule, I guess.
But it's still like time manipulation or whatever.
Yeah, it's more time manipulation because it's not really in the past because you can kind of pick up and resume from where you are. Like, you don't really travel back and forth.
Yeah. It's just like the past Hyrule frozen in its time state, but like the rest of the world continued on without it.
Yeah. And then continuing in Skyward Sword, you travel 100 years back and forth. Like you can plant the tree 100 years in the past and go in the future, and now it's a giant tree.
It's actually 1,000.
1,000 years? Crazy.
That gets closer to the microphone. Actually, 1,000.
And then in Breath of the Wild, you don't travel back in time, but you do get the memories to see how everything was 100 years ago. And the only real way...
you also manipulate time.
Yeah, and the only way that you do manipulate time, like in Breath of the Wild, his time mechanic, because most Zelda games have some sort of time mechanic, as we just went through. Breath of the Wild's time mechanic is just slowing down time, as opposed to traveling through time. But you do get the memories. So that's why whenever I first seen that, I just assumed that was his champion ability, which is really funny because for those who have played Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, or Shadow of War, whatever the second game to it was, for like the PlayStation 4, Xbox One consoles, because the original was for the last gen, I think. Maybe it was cross-gen. But anyways, they may have thought of it completely on their own, or they could have seen, like, when Breath of the Wild was just known as Zelda Wii U, and you got that commercial or that trailer where Link jumps off Epona, and like even there he goes in like super slow motion when he starts to shoot the ancient arrow at the Guardian. And then some of the gameplay, it shows Link doing that as well. But in that game, the main character also copies that exact same ability, to where he jumps off a horse or something and goes in slow motion while he's shooting an arrow. And my instant thought was like, wow, they copied that gameplay mechanic from Breath of the Wild. And maybe that was why I put more of a focus on the whole slow motion thing. But I don't know.
Okay.
You could also say in past games, like music manipulation could be like Link's ability in the games, because almost every game has him doing some form of music and calling animals or controlling the weather or whatever. Even Cass does it when he plays Song of Storms, and it never stops. Anyways, I'm rambling, guys.
I was going to say, so because you went on such a big ramble there, like, let's maybe tie it back to why you went into your ramble.
Yeah.
And that would be, like, we were kind of discussing how, like, maybe this is an ability that Link had that is going to have that, an ability that Link will have to fill the gap of not having one in the previous game, but you're countering this point by saying that, well, like, I think Link did have an ability, and that's manipulating time.
Yeah.
And, of course, you've backed it up with really good evidence of Link continuously manipulating time.
Yeah. But like you said, it could just be a simple gameplay mechanic.
Yeah. Can I say something real quick?
No. Yes.
Please.
Please, senpai.
Senpai. Okay, so I never thought of it as a time mechanic, honestly. I always pictured it as when he slows down in time, it's like, because he is such a highly trained warrior, I always thought of it as kind of like an adrenaline rush, because, you know, he's so like highly trained and keen in his ability to like shoot arrows really fast or figure out what he needs to do next really quickly, like in a blink of an eye. So that's what makes him such a skilled hero. So whenever he goes into his time rush mode, he's actually having like a keen adrenaline rush, figure out what you're going to do really quick and then do it. And then, like, he goes back to being normal.
Yeah.
And,
like,
he's basically Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Basically. As opposed to the time mechanic thing you said, I figured that for time mechanic, it was just like the memories, just going back and reliving the memories for Link was like the time mechanic. It's just living the story.
Yeah.
Because it's in the past.
All right.
Moving on to the next one. This one's a shorter theory. It's just one paragraph here. It is from the ever T-posing Cactus of Doom Cactus Face. Remember, if you want to get your shout out on this top 5 Zelda theories, you can leave your theories in the comments below to have us discuss them next week, just like the ever T-posing Cactus of Doom Cactus Face did.
Just have a weird name like McCactus.
Yeah. Give us something unique, not the Link is dead theory or anything. Give us your own unique theory or a favorite theory that you have heard or seen years ago. that people just aren't talking about anymore because it's fun to look back at those as well. Anyways, he says, I have a stupid theory. You see, if Link goes back in time at the end of Ocarina of Time, it contradicts the fact that the game ever took place because Link stopped it. So the adult timeline, nor the defeated timeline, should even exist. Only the child one, so the others are basically just what-if timelines, and so on. Technically, the fallen hero one is a what-if timeline depending on what way you look at it. It was the same Link after all. If I go back and not write this, it doesn't mean, sorry, there's a bit of a typo there. It doesn't mean there's now a timeline. I died writing it in a timeline without me. After I write it, it would be gone, no separate timeline. Nonsense. This has just bugged me for ages and no one believes me and people think it's stupid. But that's the thing. In a linear timeline, where there is just one timeline, it would rewrite. But that is the entire point of the split timeline. That the timeline, like something so crazy happens that it causes reality and time, space, everything to split. So when he gets sent back, unlike when he goes back and forth himself using the sword, when he gets sent back by Princess Zelda and she keeps the ocarina, that causes the split in the timeline. And that's why it happens. And I always imagined the downfall timeline a way to try to explain that instead of it just being a what-if event, is that the hero of time, since he is the hero of time, and he, like him being sent back in time without the ocarina, causes a split. So if the hero of time dies, then that would also cause a split. But at first they always called it the downfall timeline, where the hero was defeated. They at first didn't specifically say he died, so I imagined he was about to die, but then the sages sealed Link instead of sealing Ganondorf to try and save him, and then he wakes up after 100 years, and then Breath of the Wild happens. That's what I thought whenever, like, the trailers and stuff were first coming out, and we just knew it was a defeated hero from 100 years ago. I was like, well, that makes sense for the defeated hero timeline, because it was right after they created that timeline. Anyways, I'm rambling again, but it's a split timeline, that's why. Luke, or Choobs.
I don't know, Luke, go first.
Okay. So I'm kind of with you on that, Jesse. Like, I do see what he means, like, because Link stops all this stuff from happening, it shouldn't happen, but it does, because when Link pulls out the Master Sword and travels into the future, he's in a reality where Ganondorf won, and like he is ruler of Hyrule. But when he, as the hero of time, slays Ganon, goes back in time to the point where he never pulled out the sword in the first place and stops Ganondorf from even getting his plan done in the first place, that's when it creates that big split. And that's why it's like that. So I get why that would probably be really confusing, but it makes sense to people that like study it religiously.
Yeah, I'm personally, like, I don't focus a lot on like timeline, time travel. I really like science fiction, so whenever I get too into it, my brain goes into weird places. But so basically, when Jesse was reading this theory, the way that I thought about it was the episode in Community where someone goes to roll a dice to decide who's gonna go pick the pizza, or who's gonna go pick up the pizza.
I love you.
And so I think of it as like, you roll the dice, and if it lands on a 2, then you guys are doing, like, you've opened up like 6 other alternate like realities that might take place. So that's the way that comment reads, is like thinking that maybe it all took place, maybe it's in all like alternate realities, like maybe that's what's happening. But that was just the way that theory came off, was how I interpreted it.
The best thing about that is that in the episodes, I think that episode ends as if what's his name was just going through all of the scenarios in his head, but then like
Yeah,
even
and Abed's like, no, we shouldn't roll.
Yeah, even during later seasons, like the bad timeline characters start to come in, and it continues on as if they were real, and then they actually invade our time. It's crazy. I love it. You guys should watch it. But the type of time travel that he's talking about does happen in Majora's Mask and Skyward Sword, to where when you're in the past and you do something, it resets the future, or it changes the future. Like, if you go back in time in Skyward Sword, plant the tree, go forward in time, the tree's there. Ocarina of Time does it as well when you plant the magic bean and then go in the future, and the magic bean plant is there. But when you get sent back in time without the ocarina and the sword or whatever, that's when it like branches off. So all of the other times, maybe that's what he's thinking. Like, maybe he played Majora's Mask and Skyward Sword and seen how that time travel worked, and then played Ocarina of Time and seen how time travel in the game worked, where the past does affect the future in Ocarina of Time, but it's just when the game ends and Zelda sends you back. That's the split. Yeah, don't exactly know why. Presumably it's because Link didn't have the Ocarina of Time, but who knows. Anyways, our next one is from Chablima.
Oh, well, actually, this next one is from Kyle Dean. So here's my take on Demise. He is the complete opposite of Hylia, an evil god from Lorule. The gods destroyed the Laurelian Triforce, and Demise found out there was another parallel universe, one which holds another Triforce. Demise decided to invade the land, which would later become Hyrule, in order for his evil designs. So he came from the cracks of the earth, just like the cracks in the terrain that bring you from Hyrule to Lorule in A Link Between Worlds, and vice versa, and challenged Hylia for the Triforce. Just like Hylia, he had a Master Sword, symbolizing an upside-down Triforce, just like the Triforce in Lorule. What do you think?
So,
what do you guys think?
This reads off, I don't mean to interrupt you guys, but I'm just going first because it reads off the exact same way that another theory that I made a few years ago with, it has Dr. Wily and I believe 𝐓𝐿𝐷, Commonwealth Realm, a bunch of other people in it that I got to voice parts in it. But it's basically that same thing, that the cracks that Demise came from was the cracks that go from Lorule, and the upside down Triforce on his Master Sword matches the Lorule Triforce. But it goes a bit further, and it brings in some stuff about Termina and the Stone Tower Temple as well. But you guys can go and watch that if you want a really in-depth version of this theory. It's like 10 to 15 minutes long, so if you have the time, go check it out. So short plug there. But
well, fun that you actually have like a full video on this theory, so that way if anyone's like super interested in it, then they have the option of going and finding out more, and especially with so many other big Zelda content creators involved as well, right?
Yeah, and the great thing about it that leads more credibility, like not in-game stuff, but real-world stuff, Skyward Sword and A Link Between Worlds were being worked on at the same time. So while Aonuma was working on Skyward Sword for the Wii and working on A Link Between Worlds for the 3DS, he probably did get some ideas from both games and put them in there. So that's something else. But Luke, your thoughts?
All right. So I think that this theory is pretty doable, and the Laurelian Triforce thing, I don't really think that Demise really comes from Lorule. I mean, there's a possibility that he could, but one thing that I don't quite understand about this is that in A Link Between Worlds, from my understanding, the disappearance of the Laurelian Triforce was recent because of how the land was falling apart, and I don't think the world would even exist by the time we got into the A Link Between Worlds era, if the Laurulian Triforce disappeared at the beginning of the timeline, I really don't think that it would still exist. I feel like it would have just been completely fallen apart, almost non-existent, because the Triforce is what keeps everything in balance, as we saw in Lorule. And I also didn't get how could Hilda, Princess Hilda of Lorule, how could she rule Lorule if it's not even really a kingdom anymore, because it's basically another dark world. So like that part's kind of confusing to me. And Demise's sword is, honest to God, just like I always saw it as like a demonic version of the Master Sword, as you compare the designs of them. Like, they're obviously like a yin yang kind of thing. So I never really thought of it as like Demise has the Master Sword of Lorule or whatever. I thought of it as like an anti-Master Sword. Like, this is because the Master Sword is the blade that seals the darkness. It's the blade of evil's bane. And then Demise's sword is like the light cutter, or like the opposite of whatever the Master Sword does. It kills light and brings darkness to whatever it slays.
Alright, so a really quick thing here that I want to add is that you bring up that if the Triforce of Lorule disappeared long ago when Demise came to Hyrule, then Lorule would be gone. Because it seems like it's only a recent thing in A Link Between Worlds that the Triforce goes away. So,
right. And that's why Yuga came to Hyrule,
yes,
if I remember correctly.
So, a different explanation could be that in the same way that in Hyrule, the Triforce originally was in Hyrule, where it was created, but then they hid it in the Sacred Realm so that Ganondorf and other people couldn't get to it. So what if Lorule did the same thing, to where whatever their version of their Sacred Realm was, or a different realm, they took their Triforce from Lorule and hid it in a different realm so Demise couldn't get to it. And then he came to Hyrule to get ours. So it would be similar to how Ganondorf can't get into the Sacred Realm to get the Triforce, so he has to trick Link into getting it for him in Ocarina of Time. So with Demise and Lorule, maybe he wasn't able to trick anyone, or he was just unable to actually get Lorule's Triforce. So that's why he came. He thought maybe, well, if I can't get this one because it's in a sealed realm I can't get to, then I can just go to this other realm that I know I can get to and try to take their Triforce. So maybe that's an explanation. I don't know. We could debate back and forth, but...
Well, Kyle said right here in his explanation, he said the gods destroyed the Lorulian Triforce. So I don't think... I mean, unless he could imply that by sealing it in the Sacred Realm, in the Lorulian Sacred Realm, I guess that could be a possibility, but since he said the gods destroyed the Lorulian Triforce, just like it says in A Link Between Worlds, where it is literally destroyed and it's non-existent anymore.
Yeah, I'm saying that, like, when Demise was like thousands of years ago, they sealed it so he couldn't get to it, and then after Demise was defeated, they brought it back, and then it was just in Lorule for a while, and then the events of A Link Between Worlds happens. So it's not like it stays there, and that's why A Link Between Worlds happened. Like, it's sealed up, and then they bring it back out after Demise is defeated or whatever, and it stays in Lorule, and then thousands of years pass, and then they destroy the Triforce. That's what I was meaning. I wasn't meaning that it just stays sealed away during the events of A Link Between Worlds. It stays still sealed away until, like, Demise's, like, the threat is gone.
Oh yeah, no. I got that. I was like, Never mind. Let's just continue. I don't want to get into this.
It's funny because, like, whenever we were going to do this, I was just like, yeah, we'll read the theory and then give a few sentences on, like, what's going on and stuff, and then we'll end
now
it.
You
It'll
guys
be like,
want to debate.
Yeah, that's the fun thing. Maybe, like,
It is fun, actually.
last time it was just me reading it out and giving my short thoughts and then wrapping it up at the end, but maybe they'll like this format a bit more. I don't know. Let us know in the comments below. Or leave a review on iTunes if you're listening to it on iTunes. But Jablima, you have the last one.
What?
Yeah.
That's mine.
That's him.
No,
yeah, that's Luke. Luke's yellow. And it's literally Luke's theory.
It's not my theory. It's a
Wait, so I thought Luke already gave 2.
What?
No.
I read the one from Kyle here, and then you totally took off. You just whoa.
Oh, okay.
You picked up that one and just
maybe
your arms and stole it.
I was debating with Luke. Maybe that's why I thought he was the one that read it off. But Tubes, you didn't give your thoughts on it.
I don't think I really have any thoughts on it, honestly. Like, as far as things go, like Lorule and Demise, like I'm probably actually the least versed in it because did I play any of those games?
No, but you are now. You're going to be streaming soon, right? You got Skyward Sword, Dolphin, everything. You're going to be getting a Dolphin bar soon. You're going to hang it on your wall. Daniel's going to get mad because he's a vegetarian. It doesn't condone the cruelty to animals, but you're just going to have his corpse hanging on the wall. Then you're just going to put a candle on its head and its tail, and then you're going to play the Wii.
Oh my god. Luke, read the next theory.
Oh my gosh, Jesse. Alright, so is this the last theory?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the last theory. I did not write this theory, but this is from a different Luke, so I figured I would be Luke and read a Luke theory, so here we go. This Luke says, a theory I really love is that the Twilight are the Sheikah. Throughout Ocarina of Time, the Sheikah are rarely seen, and Impa and Zelda are the only publicly known members left. The blue and orange colors in Breath of the Wild's Sheikah tech are very similar to the red and blue colors and patterns in the Twilight magic and their creations. There also appears a Sheikah eye on the back of Midna's fused shadow piece and on Xanth's throne. They both revolve around themes of darkness, and Zelda and Twilight Princess, a descendant of Zelda in Ocarina of Time, can even survive in the Twilight-infested castle of Hyrule. And lastly, the Twilight, before they became the Twilight, were exiled to the Twilight Realm after disagreements over the Triforce and black magic in Hyrule. The Sheikah have had schisms in other parts of the timeline, and perhaps a schism happened before Ocarina of Time, leading to the exile of many members, leaving only Zelda and Impa, explaining why the tribe was becoming extinct. So, thoughts?
You guys give yours first.
Alright.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean, I kind of see what they mean with the Twilight thing of Zelda being able to survive in the Twilight because she's like a descendant, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the game explains the reason Link doesn't turn into a spirit in the Twilight is because he's chosen by destiny, like he has the Triforce of Courage, which is why he doesn't transform. So I think the same applies to Zelda. She has the Triforce of Wisdom, so she doesn't transform.
I'm not sure about Zelda, but like I always assumed it was just like she has like Ganondorf, so it could be different things like Ganondorf, since all the magic is coming from him that Xanth's using, and their goal is to get the power and the Triforce from Zelda. So maybe they're purposefully not letting their magic or whatever affect her because they want her to be Zelda, not a wolf or a weird creature or whatever. So they need her to be physically there, and then I don't know. But
Well, I mean, Link only turns into a wolf because he's the hero. Like he has the spirit of the hero. That's why he turns into a wolf.
Yeah, and Zelda's
having the Triforce of Courage. Yeah, and exactly. Zelda's Hylia, and she has the Triforce of Wisdom. So I don't see why she would transform into a spirit or an animal.
Yeah, like you could look at Zelda and be like, she's literally a god. Like in the world of Zelda, she is a god. Anytime there's like a plot device for Zelda on like, well, why is Zelda able to do this? Why is she able to do that? It's like, well, she is a god. She is a queen, she's the princess of a country. She has 1/3 of the most powerful object in the world. It's like she has 1/3 of the Infinity Gauntlet, basically. And she just also happens to be a god. So, like, that's why.
Just a happy coincidence.
And I find it interesting, actually. In every Zelda game, Zelda is the princess, but actually in Twilight Princess, she's actually the queen, which is interesting. She's just a solo queen. But to the Sheikah parts of this theory, I did notice that there is like Sheikah like related symbols in the Twilight. Like the Fused Shadow does have like subtle hints to like the Eye of Truth or whatever, the Sheikah Eye, and the inside the Mirror of Twilight, the Twilight Realm, there's like very subtle stuff that points to the Sheikah becoming the Twilight people, and it would also kind of, for the most part, it would explain why all of the Sheikah are gone in Twilight Princess, aside from Impaz, who was punished to stay there by herself until the Messenger of the Skies came.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my thoughts. Jesse, what are you doing?
But yeah, when it comes to the origin of the Twilight, there's a few videos I have on my channel. I basically think they're a combination of the Sheikah, the Gerudo. Like the Sheikah explains their magic and stuff because any race can be a Sheikah. Sheikah just means that you're basically the police, like the special protectors of Zelda, and that you can do magic. The Gerudo can also do magic, as we see with Twinrova and some of the others. So, like, it's just a mix of them. Like, the Sheikah defectors, like in Breath of the Wild, they're called the... Crap, I forgot the name. What is it? The Yiga? Yeah, they became the Yiga. The Sheikah defectors were, like, sent off, presumably, to the Twilight Realm. The Gerudo that stood with Ganondorf were also sent off with Ganondorf. And then there's also another creature, or a race that also just happens to live in the desert called not the Zonai. I think it also starts with the Z, but they're in Four Swords Adventures, and they're a race that lives close to the Gerudo, but they also happen to have that bluish green skin tone. And a lot of people just think that if you watch their theories, that it's just a mix of the Gerudo or the Sheikah, or it's just the Sheikah that was sent there, and it was just the light in the atmosphere and the Twilight Realm that turned their skin that color. But my thoughts were, well, after they made Twilight Princess, or around the same time, they also made Four Swords Adventures, which was also on the GameCube, and there was a race that also got along with the Gerudo that just happened to have the same skin tone that the Twilight have. So it's like, to me, they're just a mix of all three of those races blending together.
Right.
Yeah. This theory blew my mind because I really like Twilight Princess. So I'm like thinking about it probably more than I need to. Also, the race that you're thinking of, I'm pretty sure it's the Zuna.
Yeah, Zuna. Yeah, that's it. They live out in the desert, like right next to the Gerudo, but they're only in that one game. Presumably, they're only in that one game because they were all put in the Twilight Realm. Sorry.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, okay. Just took them all. They're no longer Zuna. They're now Twilight.
Yeah. I didn't know Twilight Princess was your favorite. Is it your favorite? I don't know.
Yeah, we talk about this literally all the time.
Cool. Alright, so, does anyone have any final thoughts on that? we don't have to go back and discuss all the other theories because we kind of did that.
Went so in depth.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really have anything else to say about it.
All right.
I do think it's one thing I want to say though is I do find it interesting that when the Twilight was kind of banished from Hyrule and like the lack of races were, as you know, are absent in Twilight Princess, it kind of ties along with the lack of magic in Hyrule, because like in Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker and many other Zelda games, Link has magic power, but in this game, magic power is non-existent. And based on like the story of it and how I think the light spirit Lanayru at Lake Hylia explains that the Twilight had black magic and it was banned from Hyrule because it's black magic. So I figured that like maybe that was like the source of it, the source of the magic that Ocarina of Time Link always used, because it did come from the fairies, but the fairies are practically non-existent in Twilight Princess apart from being in the Cave of Ordeals. So I thought that was interesting, especially since in like a beta screenshot of the game, you can see Link with the magic power bar underneath his hearts. Like you can see it on the back of the Wii box art. So it's really weird.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
So
mysteries ensue.
Going around really quick, everyone give off what your favorite was from this list. If you had two favorites, like if it was a tie, just name them off, and then where everyone can find more videos or follow you on Twitter, Instagram, whatever.
All right.
Start with you, Luke, since you're
our
special guest.
Sweet. Thank you, Jesse and Chewy. Thanks for having me on. So again, I'm Hailey and Luke, and you can find my YouTube, Twitch, etc., Instagram, all that stuff, with Hailey and Luke. My Twitter, however, is Hyrulean Luke, and that's because someone took Hailey and Luke.
Boo.
Someone legit took that name and doesn't use it. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Hyrulean Luke, and then every other social media known to man is Hyrulean Luke.
All right.
Now, which was your favorite though, out of the theories we read?
Right. And then my favorite theory, I have to say I really like the theory I picked about the green spiritual energy, because I just find that so interesting. Like
I really liked that one too. I was very interested in that one.
Yeah, like I thought that was just super interesting. Like some people think that Jesse, what are you?
It was a picture that Lucy drew.
Cat Jesse.
Yeah, my 𝐕 chair made me look like I had cat ears. So
dang,
I'll send you the video later.
Please do. But yeah, just like the thought of like that, the green hand like possessing Link, and then like it's like that would be his champion ability. I think that'd be really interesting, especially since the possibility that the 10,000 years ago hero, this could be like his champion ability, sealing Ganondorf's mummified corpse underneath the castle, and then like 10,000 years later, Link comes back and he repossesses it.
All right.
I thought like that's like literally an idea I had like on the whim from this theory. So I think if that was a thing, that would be so cool. So that's my favorite.
All right, 𝐓𝐿𝐼, where can people find you, and which of these theories were your favorite?
All right, so you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at 𝐓𝐿𝐼. You can also find me on Twitch at 𝐓𝐿𝐼 with an extra A because I'm an idiot, and I'll say that every time I tell you guys who I am. I have to agree with Luke. I feel like the weird like green hand thing theory was my favorite, but that's just because I'm a little bit biased right now. Anything that's Breath of the Wild 2 related, I'm kind of just eating like candy. So anytime someone has a theory, I'm like, done. I love it. Give me more.
And that
doesn't make sense, but give me more.
This is also the theory that talks about his lost ability.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's me.
All right. I'm actually going to have to agree with you guys because although I did say that, you know, the time thing is his ability in Breath of the Wild, it's not confirmed. It could just be a cool gameplay mechanic. Because at the end of the day, all of the champion abilities are just gameplay mechanics that allow you to progress through the game. But, yeah, like, it's not confirmed. Like, Aonuma hasn't knocked on my door or called me up and been like, yeah, that's confirmed.
You gotta
it's
stop
his
talking
ability.
about that.
So, wait, what was that? What'd you say?
like he comes over like you gotta stop talking about it. We're getting way too close to the actual theories.
Yeah. So until he, you know, knocks on my door and tells me that I'm right or wrong with that, I just have to assume that it's not true. So I like that because I always did wonder what his ability would be if it weren't that. And a lot of people think the green glow thing looks like it's possessing him or attacking him or something, but to me it looked more like it was coming from him. Like maybe he did that with his arm and then that hand grabbed Zelda, or he did it with his hand and it caused Ganondorf to be resealed or something. Who knows? Mm-hmm. The way the trailer's cut is really interesting. So until we see another one, I'm just gonna have to come up with ideas of our own. But you can find me at everything 𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐺𝐺𝐸, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. Everything is 𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐺𝐺𝐸. We just changed our Facebook fan page. If you've been following it, you'll know that it is facebook.com/𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐺𝐸, but the title of it, they wouldn't let us change it for a long time, so the actual name for it was Zelda News and Theories, because that's what I posted when I first started my YouTube channel, was Zelda News and Theories. Since nobody knew who 𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐺𝐸 was at the time, they would be able to see the title Zelda News and Theories and know exactly what to expect. But since the channel is more podcast focused now, I was finally able to change the channel name, or not the channel name, but the Facebook name to the Hylian Gamescast. And then to make it a bit more obvious, there is a dash and a Zelda podcast. So if you want to search the Hylian Gamescast, a Zelda podcast, or 𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐺𝐸 on Facebook, you'll find the page where we post all sorts of stuff. There's even a few people on there that like to post some funny Zelda and Nintendo memes every now and then. So go check it out for a fun time. You can use it to chat with us as well. You can join our Discord and everything. But the one most important thing that you can do right now is subscribe on YouTube or go to iTunes to find the Hylian Gamescast or this weekly show. It's supposed to be closer to like 15 minutes, but it ended up being almost an hour. So maybe next time we can keep the discussions short, but it's all your fault for giving us such interesting theories to discuss. But yeah,
how dare you guys be so interesting?
Yeah, go check out Hylian Luke. Check out Shublima and 𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐺𝐸 and Cap Bergerson and the Geek Apprentice. Go check them out too. It's our other co-hosts. Anyways, thank you all for joining us. Have a great day. Bye.
Hey everyone, it's me again, Elia Rose. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. And you know what? If you're a fan of videos like this, you should totally subscribe and give this video a like and comment below to let us know what type of videos you would like to see us create in the future. And if you would really like to support all of us here at the 𝐵𝐻𝐸𝐺𝐵 channel, please consider purchasing a 𝐵𝐻𝐸𝐺𝐵 t-shirt or becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/𝐵𝐻𝐸𝐺𝐵, where you can receive many rewards, such as getting shoutouts, having any topic or theory that you select discussed on the podcast or made into its own video, having your question answered, joining on as a guest on the podcast, and playing with us during our Twitch live streams at twitch.tv/𝐵𝐻𝐸𝐺𝐵, and much, much more.